Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking one of our most common, almost totally unconscious human habits and connecting it directly to groundbreaking artificial intelligence. We're talking about fidgeting. As you'll see, the incredibly subtle ways we move our bodies might just be the exact key we need to unlock automated mental health tracking. So, let's dive right in.
First, I actually want you to do a really quick scan of your own body right now. Are you bouncing your leg? Maybe you're chewing on the end of a pen until it looks like abstract art. Twirling a strand of hair, or just kind of tapping your thumb against your phone case. Seriously, don't stop doing it, just notice it. We literally all do this, and usually we don't even realize it's happening until somebody else points it out.
Here's our quick roadmap for The Explainer today. 1. The science of fidgeting. 2. Cortisol versus dopamine. 3. AI meets mental health. 4. Tracking the body. And finally, 5. Predicting distress.
Okay, let's jump straight into Section 1, the science of fidgeting, and the real biological purpose behind our restlessness. For the longest time, fidgeting was just written off as a bad habit, right? Like it was just a clear sign that you weren't paying attention. But the science tells a very, very different story. Fidgeting is actually a biological drive to self-regulate. It's literally your body's attempt to maintain a state of balance or homeostasis. Think about your everyday fidgets, bouncing legs, twirling hair, clicking pens, or even using those sensory toys like silicone poppets or therapy putty. These aren't just distractions, they're mechanisms. We use these tools and these movements to actively channel nervous energy, or on the flip side, to give ourselves some much-needed sensory stimulation when we're feeling understimulated. Now, in the academic world, and specifically in the computer science research we're getting into today, they use a slightly broader term for this, self-adapters. It sounds fancy, but they're basically defined as self-comforting gestures. That includes literally any kind of touching on other parts of your body, whether you're moving around dynamically or just holding that touch statically. Fidgeting is just categorized as a specific, restless subset of these self-adapters.
Moving right along to Section 2, cortisol versus dopamine. Let's look at the actual neurobiology of why we do this.
It turns out there are two totally different faces of fidgeting. Our bodies actively use movement to manage our internal chemistry. On one hand, we have anxious fidgeting. If you're super stressed and amped up, your body uses fidgeting to burn off that excessive nervous energy and actually lower your stress hormone cortisol. It physically calms you down. But then, on the other hand, we have boredom fidgeting. If you're just wildly understimulated, fidgeting redirects your attention and promotes dopamine. That's your focus-enhancing, feel-good hormone. It literally sends a signal to your brain to wake up and stay engaged. So, an anxious fidget calms us down, while a bored fidget wakes our brain up. Pretty amazing, right? Because fidgeting is this physical manifestation of our internal psychological state, it brings us to Section 3, AI meets mental health. We're pivoting now from the relatable psychology of fidget toys to the profound, life-saving potential of actually tracking these subtle movements.
450 million. I just want that number to sink in for a second. According to the World Health Organization, that is the estimated number of people around the globe suffering from neuropsychiatric conditions right now, with depression and anxiety obviously being the most common. We are talking about a massive global health threat.
But here's the really glaring flaw in our current system, which researchers from the University of Cambridge and the University of Oxford have highlighted. It's estimated that nearly 2/3 of people suffering from distress never receive help from a health professional. And when they actually do, well, clinical assessments are still largely based on self-reports and a health worker's highly subjective observations. We know early detection is absolutely key to positive outcomes, but ongoing, manual assessment at that kind of scale is just impossible. And that is exactly why automated, objective detection of psychological distress is becoming such a vital, cutting-edge area of research.
So, how do we fix this? Let's move to Section 4, tracking the body, and look at how computers actually see fidgeting. Researchers from Cambridge and Oxford set out to tackle this by building a brand new dataset. They conducted these non-clinical, conversational interviews specifically to elicit fully natural, non-acted body expressions from people, and then they paired those video recordings with established psychological distress questionnaires. Because fidgeting is notoriously hard to define for a computer, researchers built what they call a hierarchical self-adapter detector. The AI basically tracks the body using bounding boxes. Think of them as invisible tracking lines drawn around the hands and legs. The system recognizes a self-adapter whenever these bounding boxes overlap. So if a hand bounding box overlaps with a face bounding box, the AI logs in H2F, or hand-to-face event. If the legs overlap, it logs in L to L, leg to leg, or crossed legs event. Let's break that down logically into the AI's three-step framework. It's actually brilliantly simple when you look closely at it. Step 1. The AI detects the location of the hands and legs using those overlapping bounding boxes we just talked about. Step 2. It classifies the motion. It looks at a sliding window of video frames and uses an algorithm to figure out if the movement is dynamic, meaning there's an obvious cyclic motion happening, or static, meaning it's just resting. And then step 3, it combines the location and the motion to classify the high-level fidgeting event. So for example, a hand-to-hand location event combined with dynamic motion equals a cross-hand fidget.
But here's the thing. The researchers didn't just look at fidgeting in a total vacuum. They fed this movement data into an incredibly complex neural network, specifically a multimodal deep denoising autoencoder. Yeah, I know, that is quite a mouthful. But essentially, it just means they fused the fidgeting data together with gaze direction, facial expressions, and acoustic speech features. They combined all these different modalities to teach the AI what a distressed person looks and sounds like as an entire cohesive whole.
Which brings us perfectly to our final section, predicting distress. What do our completely subconscious habits actually reveal to a highly trained machine? Well, the statistical results of this study are absolutely groundbreaking.
When the researchers finally ran their models, they found that our subtle movements completely betray our underlying psychological state. Here are the specific physical behaviors that the deep learning model correlated with high depression labels. First, they found increased right-hand fidgeting on the leg, arm, and face. And just a quick side note on this, most participants in the dataset were right-handed, which is why the right hand showed way more predictive motion than the left. Second, depressed participants exhibited highly regular and constant hand gestures. That means they were fidgeting continuously, rather than in these surprising spaced outbursts. And third, the AI detected frequent and very long gestures specifically concentrated in the head and leg regions. There's also this incredibly fascinating nuance hidden in the data. The AI actually became significantly more accurate at detecting distress when it tracked the subject fidgeting specifically while they were talking. Just by fusing the participants' speaking events with their fidgeting data, the overall performance of the model improved. It turns out the co-occurrence of talking and fidgeting is a highly, highly beneficial predictor.
So what's the big takeaway? Why does all of this actually matter in the real world? Well, as the researchers point out, automated analysis can help address long-standing concerns about the ability of health professionals to pick up on subtle behavioral signs remotely, like during a video call. Ever since the pandemic, telepsychiatry has absolutely exploded in popularity. But it is incredibly hard for a doctor to read your full, natural body language through a tiny little Zoom window. This AI could eventually act as an objective, automated assistant, just sitting quietly in the background of a clinical video call, helping health professionals spot subtle signs of depression or anxiety that they might otherwise completely miss on a screen.
The way we bounce our legs or touch our faces isn't just random, meaningless noise. It's a deeply biological language that artificial intelligence is finally learning how to translate. Which leaves us with this final thought. If your webcam knows you're anxious before you even realize it yourself, how is that going to change the future of therapy? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope you found it as fascinating as I did. Keep learning, and I will catch you next time.